All right, all right. Well, welcome back, everybody, to Anna Chaos, art studio. Today we're going to continue with some of the art lessons. I know you guys see me just kind of just working on my plants and doing a couple stuff. To be honest, my mind is racing a million miles an hour, and I just kind of need to disconnect. And painting flowers is one of the things that just kind of help me with that. But today we're going to start getting into Introduction to Color Theory. This is probably going to be divided into 3 lessons. So lesson 11, which will be today, is Introduction to Shades, Tints, and Tones. The following episode will probably going to be Introduction to the Color Wheel. And then the final lesson will be the color harmonies. So this way is, you can follow along. It's consumable chunks, and you just kind of break it down as you go through. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, all right. So for this lesson, we're going to be just using very basics. We're going to start from the beginning. So pretty much what you will need is paper or multimedia papers will be suggested for this. You're going to be needing a ruler. You're going to be needing a paintbrush of some sort that is friendly for acrylic paint if possible. If you have it, a mixer palette. I know I need to clean mine from the last time I did any painting, but a mixer palette. And then you're going to be needing some acrylic paints. And these acrylic paints are pretty much just basic acrylic paints. These are like $1 and change if you go to the craft store. And for today's lesson, you're also going to be needing the color black and white. Now, I'll suggest for the next 3 lessons, these are the colors that you're going to need. You can get a really basic acrylic paint kit. So make sure you have a red, a blue, a yellow, a black, and a white. So this should be sufficient for the next 3 lessons. So make sure you go ahead and get these supplies. Okay. And like I said, just do the best that you can. I know, folks are on they're on a budget, which I've been there myself. So just do the best that you can. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So when we think of color or light, okay, what ends up happening is here is the human eyeball. Let's pretend this is a human eyeball. Okay, so from here we have the sun. The sun is pushing light onto these surfaces. It could be a tree. It could be grass, it could be a flower, and what happens is that light bounces from the surfaces into our eyes as information, and in the back of our eyes, it's just basic biology, we have different receptors that interpret each one of those lights as a different color. And I can go deeper into the science of this, but that's pretty much the whole concept in like a nutshell. So you have these little things called cones in the back of your eyes, and each one of these cones read a different color. And like I said, you can really just go into your biology book, and it pretty much talks about this even more. So let's go ahead and talk about how these hues, saturations, and tones, all these are created. All right. The best chart that I can think of is this. So you have right here, this is the pure color. I know, my chicken scratch is terrible. Pure color, also known as hue. So this hue right here is red. This hue right here is blue. And then if you start getting into like digital will pretty much be like, the hex code. So like FFFFFF is like, remember, is white, and 000 is pure black, and then you have the in-betweens like 000, AB, something random, whatever. Okay, so you have always the pure hue, so you start here. From here, you're going to have 3 tones. So I'm just going to put the image right here. So you're going to have black. Actually, let's just flip it backwards. Yeah, that's fine. Black, gray, and then white. Okay, it doesn't matter. To be honest, it really doesn't matter. So these are your tones. So I may flip this backwards so it makes sense. You have, nope, I had it right the first time. Sorry, my dyslexic brain is just not doing too hot today. So black, gray, which is in the between, and then you have white itself. When you add a pure tone and you add black you get shades. Okay? When you have a pure tone and then you add black, you get shades. When you have a gray tone, you got a pure tone plus gray. Okay, you have what is known as a tone. Okay, and if you have a pure tone plus white, it's known as a tint. Okay, so not sure that makes sense, but let's go back through it again. A pure tone, so like let's say blue, and I add black, variations of black, it will give me shades. If I have a gray tone, let me see, do I have gray, pre-mixed gray? Okay, so if I have blue and I mix it with a gray, it will give me a tone. And if I have blue and I mix it with white, it will give me a tint. Okay, so now if I try to go in either direction, so let's say I add more white or more dark, eventually everything ends up as a tone. I'm not sure that makes sense to you, but it makes perfect sense to me. So hue plus black equals shades. Okay, hue plus gray equals tone, and hue plus white equals tint. It's the best way that I can break this down for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this to the test. Okay, now keep in mind that colors are a very powerful thing that you can use. There are other things that go between tints and tones. So you have here, we're going to talk about this. So it's going to be hue, value, saturation, and you might see these saturation, you also, and temperature. If you ever looked at your phone and you ever taken a photo, and I'll show you right here. I took a picture of a flower earlier today. Okay, so here's a picture of a flower that I took, and I'm going to edit it. And if you go right here, you get all these little different features. So you have a light balance, you have brightness, you have exposure, contrast, and a lot of these pretty much go to photography. But then you have things like shadows. So this right here will be adding shades, making it darker. Saturation is just kind of making those colors bolder. Okay, you also have right here, you have brightness, adding more whites. Okay, so you start to make more different variations of this. And you also have temperature, and temperature pretty much goes in two ways. You can either go warmer, which makes it more vivid, more bright, or you can go the opposite way where it goes colder, which is more of your blues. Okay, so this is stuff that you can kind of look at your own. And again, this is probably not the best example, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys, how some of these also carry to your everyday stuff. Now for this exercise, I want to go ahead. Don't mind me, I'm getting eaten alive by bugs, even though I done my best not to have any bugs in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a ruler or a hard surface, and then go ahead and simply draw. We're going to draw 3 rectangles. Rectangle 1. Rectangle 2. Do the best you can. These don't got to be perfect. And rectangle 3. But you're doing it bad. My Katie's in the background, pretending she's neglected, even though I try to play with her all the time. Okay, from this, I'm going to break this into like 12 shades. simply just doing some quick markings. And I'm just going to go ahead and do some quick divisions. Know that I'm not going too crazy with this. I'm just doing some quick divisions. Okay, so we have pretty much a grid right here. I'm going to push this up a little bit so you guys can see. As I said, it's not pretty, but it kind of meets the need of the project. So for this, I will highly suggest for you to start with some of the lighter tones. So right here, we're going to start with a pure tone. So for this, I'm going to pick red. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to pick blue. I like blue. Blue's a good color. I tend to like cooler colors. Oh, I never opened this jar. Give me a second. So we're going to start with tints. Come on, brain. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of dyslexic. We're going to do shades. And then we're going to do tones. So this is white, black, gray. So we're going to start with the lighter color. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because black is a very potent color. And if you use too much of it, it just darkens your pigmentation very fast. So I'm simply going to grab a little bit of blue. Then I'm going to dunk some white up here. And I'm simply going to start. So this is going to be 100% right here, 100% hue. So just the pure tone. And I'm simply just going to paint okay, so that is my first square. From here, I'm going to paint a second square. But I'm going to add a little bit of white. Then I'm going to repeat. So as I continue to paint through, because I keep adding white, there you go. So as I keep adding more white to it, it just keeps getting lighter. Now normally you go all the way across, but I think for this I could just do a few and you guys get the concept. The actual exercise you go all the way across, but meh. Add more white. So the more white I add, the lighter the tone gets. And you keep going until you're almost all the way to white. And there we go. And you're literally just going to keep going until you get to like almost a perfect white. Now, because there's still pigmentation, so as you can see, it just kind of towards the end, there's still going to be some shades of blue in there, which is totally fine. So from here, now I'm going to grab this, because I'm not using white anymore, and I'm going to put a drop of black. Black is a very potent color. Used to be mixed. See, that oil came out, but the pigment did not come out. That's why they tell you to shake your paints. So I do a little dot, and I'm going to make myself a gray. And this is a neutral gray. Anytime, it might come out a little cooler because I already got some blue pigmentation on it, but this is a neutral gray. And for this, I need to just clean out my brush real quick. And you can go other ways. Some people go the way white and then they go gray and they go back. So that's fine. But I try to keep it on the same direction so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to start once again. This right here. So this is a tone because it's gray. So I'm going to start down here. This is a tone. I'm going to start with 100%. As I said, these lessons are not perfect. It's just me just trying to, teach you guys something. There's some artists out there that go pedal to the metal, and that's totally cool. I admire them. As I said, this is just me trying to share my knowledge, and I am going to now dip into the gray, and then I'm going to grab this. Add more gray. That was a quick transition already. Look, a nice cooler gray. I said I am not looking for perfection. That is not the intent. Yes, meow meow, I hear you. Alright, I seem to have reached my final destination pretty all the way to the end, just a little earlier than I anticipated. Maybe we should add some more blue. Yes, there is a mosquito here, and it is killing me. It is killing me. It knows that I'm distracted, so it's trying to just kind of numb on me. And this right here is a pure gray. Go get it, mama. Go get it. Go get the bug. Okay. So that's that. But you guys are trying to get the idea. You start with a pure tone, and then the more you add the same tone, it just kind of goes a little way from 100% blue to gray, from 100% blue to white, and then let's go ahead and go to the last one. And black is one you have to be very careful with because again, it's a very potent color. It's a very potent color. Okay, so we're going to do this again. And it's the fun part of living in Texas. Mosquitoes eat you alive, especially in the summer. And there is no getting rid of it. Now, for this, when I did this, I just barely dip. See, I just barely dip my brush in there. Look how dark it got already. So that means that I took too much. So I need to add more blue. Yeah, black is a really potent color. Just trying to see if I can lighten this up a little bit. You can see you almost immediately reach that tone very fast with black. It just takes a little bit more, you say, it takes a little more practice to go all the way through, but you guys kind of get the idea. So you have tints is when you mix it with white. Shades is when you mix it with black and you get a variation. Obviously, you can get more than this. I'm just, like I said, from mine, I only managed to get up to 5 before I started reaching pure black. But you guys get the idea here. Then you have and tones, which is pretty much just adding gray. So that's pretty much what we're seeing right here. Okay, guys. So the next portion of this, it was pretty much is me going into the color wheel. But what I want you guys to do is for your own self, go ahead and duplicate this as best as you can. Do the best as you can to do this. I know this kind of works with acrylic paints. It's a little harder with watercolor. You should be able to do this with gouache and maybe some color pencil for sure. But yeah, so it's just gonna take a while to kind of set this up. But like I said, I'm gonna break this down to little digestible chunks, and today we're pretty much talking about shades, tones, and tints, and then how you produce those. So go ahead and, like I said, take your time, try to reproduce the exercise, and go from there. But anyway, guys, I'll talk to you soon in the next lesson. I always welcome any feedback. Let me know if this was too crazy or, it was just the right pacing. I'm always looking into improving my channel. But anyway, guys, I will talk to you soon. Peace.